Once upon a time, on a sunny day, Alice was sitting by the riverbank with her sister. Alice was feeling bored as her sister read a book. As Alice's mind began to wander, she noticed a peculiar white rabbit with a pocket watch muttering,
"Oh dear, oh dear, I shall be too late."
Curiosity piqued, Alice decided to follow the rabbit. She watched as it darted down a rabbit hole. Without a second thought, Alice followed, tumbling down, down, down. The fall seemed to last forever as she passed shelves of books, jars of marmalade, and curious objects. When she finally landed, she found herself in a hallway lined with doors. On a small glass table, she found a key and a bottle labeled,
"Drink me."
Alice took a sip, and instantly, she began to shrink until she was just the right size to fit through a tiny door. Behind the door, she discovered a beautiful garden, more vibrant and colorful than anything she had ever seen. However, Alice realized she had left the key on the table. Now too high for her to reach, frustrated, she found a cake labeled,
"Eat me."
After taking a bite, she grew so tall that her head hit the ceiling. She cried in despair, but her tears caused her to shrink again, leaving her swimming in a pool of her own tears. As Alice swam in the pool of tears, she encountered a mouse who was also swimming. The mouse invited her to a shore where other curious creatures had gathered, including a duck, a dodo, and a lory. To dry off, the dodo suggested a caucus race, a nonsensical event where everyone ran in circles until they were dry. After the race, Alice met the white rabbit again, who mistook her for his housemaid, Mary Ann, and sent her to fetch his gloves and fan from his house. Inside the house, Alice found another bottle and, hoping it would return her to her normal size, took a sip. Instead, she grew so large that she got stuck inside the house. Panicking, the rabbit and other animals outside threw pebbles at her, which turned into cakes. Eating one, Alice shrank and managed to escape. She ran into the woods, unsure of what to do next. As Alice wandered through the woods, she came across a large mushroom, on top of which sat a blue caterpillar, smoking a hookah. The caterpillar asked Alice who she was, but she struggled to answer, having changed sizes so many times. The caterpillar advised Alice to eat from the mushroom. One side would make her grow taller, and the other would make her smaller. After experimenting, Alice managed to return to her normal size. She continued her journey and soon met a Cheshire cat perched in a tree. The Cheshire cat grinned from ear to ear and gave Alice cryptic advice. It told her that everyone in Wonderland was mad and suggested she visit the March Hare's house, where she might find more answers. Alice followed the Cheshire cat's directions and arrived at the March Hare's house, where a mad tea party was in full swing. The table was set under a tree, and the March Hare, the Mad Hatter, and a dormouse were having tea. They welcomed Alice, but their conversation was bewildering. The Hatter asked her riddles with no answers, and the March Hare contradicted everything she said. They changed places constantly, sang nonsensical songs, and the dormouse told strange stories. Alice found the entire experience exhausting but fascinating. Frustrated with their nonsense, Alice left the tea party, determined to explore more of Wonderland. She wandered through a forest and discovered a tree with a door in it. Entering, she found herself back in the hallway of doors. Using the key she had kept, Alice entered the beautiful garden she had glimpsed earlier. There she encountered a large rose bush with white roses, but the gardeners, shaped like playing cards, were painting them red. They explained that they had accidentally planted white roses and were trying to cover up their mistake before the Queen of Hearts saw. Just then, the Queen of Hearts arrived, accompanied by a procession of cards, soldiers, and courtiers. The Queen was loud and domineering, frequently shouting,
Off with their heads!
at the slightest offense. Despite her fierce demeanor, Alice boldly introduced herself. The Queen invited Alice to join a game of croquet, played with live flamingos as mallets and hedgehogs as balls. The game was chaotic, with the players and equipment constantly moving. Despite the confusion, Alice played along, trying to avoid the Queen's wrath. After the croquet game, the Queen ordered Alice to meet the mock turtle, who was always crying. Accompanied by the griffin, Alice listened as the mock turtle recounted his life, filled with puns and wordplay. The griffin then led Alice back to the court for a trial. The Knave of Hearts was accused of stealing the Queen's tarts. The jury was composed of various animals, and the court proceedings were nonsensical. Witnesses, including the Mad Hatter and the cook, gave absurd testimonies, and the evidence was equally baffling. As the trial continued, Alice began to grow larger and more confident. She objected to the ridiculous nature of the trial and challenged the Queen's authority. The Queen, furious at Alice's defiance, ordered her execution, but Alice, now fully grown, declared,
You're nothing but a pack of cards.
At that moment, the cards rose up and flew at her, causing Alice to wake up. She found herself back on the riverbank with her sister, realizing that it had all been a dream. Despite the absurdity of her adventure, Alice felt that she had learned valuable lessons about courage and curiosity. Back home, Alice shared her incredible adventure with her family, reflecting on the strange and wonderful characters she had met and the challenges she had faced. She realized that even though Wonderland was just a dream, the experiences had taught her important lessons